Okay. Good morning. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners August 6th virtual WebEx meeting docket. Today, the board will be hearing violation cases. I'm going to quickly go through an outline of our PowerPoint presentation regarding the hearing and then jump right into the hearing. As you can see in our presentation, there is a link to participate in the WebEx meeting. Please click on this link. This link can also be found on our website under the hearing schedule link. There's an access code and a password, which will provide you access to this hearing. If you wish to just listen in only, there's a phone number and access code below at the bottom of the page here. And please note that these materials are also posted online, this online presentation. Again, the materials can be found at the link under the hearing schedules. There's a 48-hour rule for evidence for online hearings. If you're going to be submitting evidence in regards to one of the listed cases, please send that evidence to Ms. Russell. That evidence should have been with us approximately 2 days ago. Licensees should make all efforts to provide, again, that documentation. And we do serve all witnesses, the board's witnesses, with summons and subpoenas, so they are present and able to participate. Very quickly, as I said, I'll be reading these instructions. There'll be an evidentiary hearing. The board, if it is a denial, the board will put on its evidence and then allow the licensee or his or her representative put on their case. At the end of the case, the board may make a decision in regards to whether there's a violation or not. At that time, I will then call out, as per the chair's request, I will call out to find out if there are any individuals, members of the general public on the call that would like to provide testimony or evidence in the case. And at that point, the board will then move to sentencing. Just some general ground rules. If you're going to be providing evidence, testimony, please be prepared to be sworn in. We have a court reporter who is with us who will ask you to spell your name. And when you're speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. Please note that these proceedings will be recorded. Just some tips on advice. If you're at home, you have a phone, a smartphone, or a tablet or a computer, please be in a well-lighted area so that you can be seen, and make sure there's no other noises in the background so that you can be heard clearly. With that, we'll move to the docket. Mr. Chair, I have a preliminary matter to touch on, if I may.
Please.
Case number 5, which was Stephen Preston, The Manor LLC, trading as The Manor, 924 North Charles Street. That matter has been postponed and will be scheduled for a future date.
Okay.
With that, I will move to the first case on the docket, which is Justin Walters, which is Kisling's Tavern, 2100 through 02 Fleet Street. Is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. A violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, on March 18, 2020, and a violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare, March 18, 2020. I would ask now that if you are not speaking, to please mute yourself. All right, with that, Mr. Chair, may I please bring on the witnesses?
Yeah, are they represented?
No, unrepresented. I'm bringing on our inspectors and witnesses as we speak. So I have Inspector Tudhope. I have Inspector Jordan, and Mr. Justin Walters is coming online too.
All right, let's swear them in.
Can you please turn on your cameras? Please turn on your video. Mr. Walters?
Yes.
Inspector Jordan? I see Inspector Tudhope's video's on. And Mr. Walters is on. Everybody's on, Madam Court Reporter, and can you swear them in?
Yes. Please raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Walters, I'm the chair of the board. You have been charged with 2 of our rule violations on March 18. Would you like to admit or deny the violation?
Admit.
Okay. And we'll give you an opportunity to tell us what happened if you want to explain. Please feel free to do so.
I think it's fairly accurate what happened. 2 customers came in to order carryouts. Waiting for their carryout, they asked for a beer. There was no other customers in the facility at that point. Once this violation occurred, it was brought to my attention. I was not there that evening. I for the carryout and delivery only, and blocking the entrances to my building with a table. Moving forward, the delivery people and anyone placing a carryout order could only come to the side door and stop at that table. It was just a little bit of miscommunication, not really understanding, not explaining it to my staff well enough. But there was nobody dining, and that's what her, argument was. But there was nobody dining. They were waiting for their carryout and asked for a beer, and I had to say, there's nobody allowed in, and congregating at that point. So either way, moving forward, I changed the dynamic, and still are using it, that form and function today.
Okay. Did the inspectors find the licensee staff to be cooperative?
Yes, they were cooperative.
Okay. Do commissioners have any questions?
I have none.
So, Mr. Walters, I just want to make sure I understand. So I note that I think the mayor just released another executive order about restaurant capacity. What are you doing to make sure, because these things I recognize are happening so quickly, and it's hard to keep these things straight, the executive order, the governor, the mayor. What are you doing to make sure that your staff is up to speed on a regular basis as these things change?
The last couple press conferences the mayor has had, I've watched and then communicated via text message or a group chat. Like, this is what we're doing moving forward as of 5 o'clock on Friday. This is what we're doing moving forward. As 5 o'clock on Monday.
Right.
And posting, whether it's electronically or, on a information corp board that I have for my staff.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Walters. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Mr. Ackers, we have public comment on the case?
One moment, Mr. Chair. If there are any individuals that wish to give public comment in this case, please use the raise your hand function at this time. I see no individuals that wish to give testimony in this case.
Okay, we'll proceed then. Ms. Walters, on the basis of the evidence, charging documents, and your testimony, including your admission of the violation, I would find a violation of Rule 4.16 on March 18, 2020, and a violation of Rule 3.12 on March 18, 2020. I note that this license has been in here for like 27 years, and the last violation was 7 years ago, so you've got a pretty good record. I think we only have had 2 problems during all those years. And we've been fairly compassionate given the circumstances of the virus. So I would impose a sanction of $100 if these violations would be 30 days to pay that amount.
Mr. Chairman, can you just repeat the fine that you are imposing?
$200 total, $100 as to each violation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Guy, I concur with the ruling. I also agree that there was a violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on March 18th, and the violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare on March 18th took place based upon the evidence that was and testimony given this morning. And I concur with the fine of $100 each for those two violations.
I find a violation, based on the admission, I too find a violation of Rule 4.16 on March 18th, 2020, and I find a violation of Rule 3.12 on March 18th, 2020. Obviously, Mr. Walters, these are serious violations, but as the chairman said, given the pandemic and the impact it's had on your business, I think it's fair to impose for this first time violation, and hopefully we won't see it again, a fine of $100 for each, or $200.
Thank you.
Slide pause. Yes, slide pause exhibits for the record. Exhibit number 1, investigation report, Inspector Jordan. Board Exhibit 2, Governor Executive Order.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Walters.
Thank you.
Mr. Walters, please note that you will be receiving mailed correspondence regarding the board's decision today.
Thank you.
Okay. Calling the next case, Harry Miller and Margot Miller, Miller's LLC, trading as Abbey Burger, Fells Point, 811 South Broadway, is a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license, violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, March 18, 2020, and a violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare, on March 18, 2020. May I have a moment? I'm just going to bring all of those parties in.
Mr. Ackers, we're getting constant feedback from somebody.
I'm trying to work on that.
Yeah, this is the reporter. I'm getting it on my end as well.
All right. I think the feedback, is that feedback issue? I don't hear it anymore. Okay, good.
Better.
Nice.
All right. I am made panelists of Mr. and Ms. Miller and attorney Stephen Fogelman. I'm turning their mics on now. Please, will you please turn on your video footage, Mr. Fogelman and Mr. and Ms. Miller?
Okay, mine says it's on. Can you see me?
Yep.
I'm sure you see my tie.
And I see Mrs. Miller is on as well.
Great.
Let's swear the witnesses, please.
Okay, Mr. and Ms. Miller, can you raise your right hand? Okay, thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you.
Fire yourself for the record, please.
Yes, good morning. Stephen W. Fogelman on behalf of Miller's LLC and Russ and Marigo Miller of the Abbey Burger Bistro.
Good morning. Do they wish to admit or deny the violation?
It'll be a respectful denial. I'd like to make a brief argument, and after the testimony is concluded, one more brief argument.
All right, so who's going to put on the evidence for the board, Mr. Ackers?
We have Inspector Tudhope and Inspector Jordan are both present. I believe this was Inspector Jordan's report. Inspector Jordan, could you please go ahead?
Jordan been sworn?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I just want to, before I start, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, very good. March 18th, Inspector Jordan and Inspector Tudhope conducted a sweep of the Fells Point area to ensure all the establishments were compliant with the governor's executive order issued on March 16th, 2020. This was meant to control and prevent the spread of COVID-19 within the Baltimore City by limiting alcohol consumption to off-premises only. At approximately 7:30 p.m., we observed a small group of patrons inside Abbey Burger Bistro located at 811 South Broadway, Baltimore. Following our external observations, we entered the establishment and observed approximately 4 people sitting at the bar, with 2 of them observed consuming alcohol, specifically beer pints. The male and female in control, identified as Mr. and Mrs. Miller, stated that they had served the patrons while they waited for their takeout orders. The inspectors explained that their actions violated the executive order, which limit alcohol consumption to off-premise only. Mr. and Mrs. Miller agreed to discontinue serving alcohol and apologize for the actions. They also proceeded to move the bar stools away from the bar.
Thank you. Ms. Fegelman, do you have questions for the inspector?
Yes, very briefly, thank you. Inspector, did you leave them with any written violation notice?
No, we didn't.
All right. Did you tell them that you would be violating them?
We were gonna bring the information back to our chief, just, and, to review what we had observed. But I don't believe we told them we were gonna violate them.
All right, you did provide them with a copy of the governor's executive order dated March 16th, isn't that right?
I do recall we had copies that day. I'm not sure, we went to so many places. I'm not certain if we provided them, specifically them, a copy.
All right, and I am, are you aware of any remedial measures made by the bar since your visit on March 18th?
No, I'm not.
Okay, thank you very much, Inspector.
Did you wish to put on evidence, Mr. Fogelman?
I do, but I mentioned I wanted to make a very brief legal argument
Okay.
before the hearing. Am I able to do that now just for 90 seconds?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you. I'm questioning the enforcement of the governor's order by the Baltimore City Liquor Board. As you know, I used to be a member of this board, and for 7 years, I was told in no uncertain terms by the Attorney General and many other agencies that the Liquor Board is a creature of the legislature, that the Liquor Board can only do that which the legislature has told them to do. This is not a traditional state executive agency, the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City. And therefore, I would argue that the enforcement of the governor's order, having not been vetted by the legislature, is an ultra vires action. And I would ask that the case be dismissed.
I thought you were making a different argument. You're saying it's ultra vires?
Well, no, I mean, that's the first thing that came.
Argument.
It's unenforceable, that you lack the jurisdiction and in ability to enforce the governor's executive order.
And you base that on what?
I'm simply basing that on the fact that the board cannot even pass laws or rules that are inconsistent with the legislature's directive.
Well, I understand that, but I don't think there's anything in this order that's contradicting legislative enactment, is there?
Well, it hasn't been vetted by the legislature. The legislature never had a chance to deliberate on this directive, and therefore, it's an historical situation, as you know. But I have no historical record showing that the Baltimore City Liquor Board was enforcing curfew orders during World War II. This is clearly a case of first impression over the last week for this board and for me as well. And there is something about it that is missing. It's missing key ingredients to all of the other liquor laws, rules, and regulations that have been passed by the legislature for decades, the 80 years of the history of this commission.
So I asked Mr. Akras a question because I asked this the other day. Where in the orders does it authorize our commission to enforce it?
Well, Mr. Chair, within the executive order itself, under the now therefore clause, it will state, by the virtue of the authority vested in me, the Constitution, laws of Maryland, including but not limited to Title 14 of the Public Safety Article, and in an effort to control and prevent spread of COVID-19, then the governor issues the executive order. The reason it was charged as a rule of our rules and regulations and not exactly the executive order is because the executive order, while it is in effect under the Constitution and laws of Maryland and Title 14 of the Public Safety Article, carries the weight of law while it is in effect, because it is an emergency order for public safety purposes. So essentially, if individuals are engaging in behavior that is in conflict with the executive order, it could be considered illegal conduct. The way we would charge a licensee if there was a potential shooting in the bar or an act of violence in the bar. The liquor board would charge the licensee, may charge the licensee, depending on the nexus of the act and the operation of the bar. Here we have a executive order which specifically prohibits a kind of act, making that act illegal, and that our inspectors found that act or found individuals engaging in that act and charged with illegal conduct and general welfare.
Okay.
If I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, that order does not deputize the Baltimore City Liquor Board to enforce the order. And furthermore, the order has not been subject to scrutiny by Maryland's high courts, the chairman having been a former member of those high courts. So I am arguing that the board does not have the authority to enforce this order.
I understand your argument. I'm going to, if that's a motion to dismiss, I deny it. I think that we do have the authority to impose rules and regulations to require people to comport with what is a lawful order of the governor. In my estimation, this is such, but if you want to challenge it, the best way to do that is to appeal.
Thank you. All right, I'll move to testimony if the board is inclined.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I'll call as my first witness, Mary Go Miller.
Hello. Good morning.
You may proceed.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miller. I don't see you on video on my phone, but I assume you are joined by your spouse, Russ Miller, co-licensee.
Yes. And anybody see us?
Okay, yes. Let me ask you some questions, Ms. Miller. Tell me about the events of March 18th, 2020.
Okay. So picking up the March 18th, we have two other locations. And Russ and myself, my husband and myself, started the first day of the order doing a carry-out only model in Federal Hill, Abbey Burger. At which point we said, okay, we've got this staff, we have it down enough. So we moved on to Mount Washington the second day to see about implementation of a carry-out only model. And we're new there, so it wasn't easy by any means, but we wanted to stay relevant, so we continued the carry-out model. On the third day, following the governor's orders, my husband and myself went to try train and implement on the carry-out only in Fells Point Abbey Burger. It was a extremely slow meeting. We had two people who have done trivia for us in the past, and they wanted to come in and get something to eat and discuss how they can help us. They were setting up a frontline, Feed the Frontline campaign, as well as discussing virtual trivia and stuff like that. At which point we did get them a beverage while they were getting food to go. At which point the liquor board came in, explained that we were not able to have people sitting at the bar. And we explained that, we were talking to them and they were waiting for their food. But I totally understand. We dumped out the beers, moved the bars, and actually moved the table to the front of the door. But after they had left, we decided that we would no longer stay open in Fells Point. We closed down until May following that incident, that warning. But we just, discontinued their drinks and told them that we would continue the meeting at a later time outside of the restaurant. And that's what we did. And we set up the front line, and a couple days later, feed the front line a couple days later.
All right, thank you. And just to make sure the board understands, there were the two co-owners of the bar, you and Mr. Miller, present,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
And there was a cook and a bartender for drinks to go also in the facility, right?
Correct. And there was somebody that picked up carryout.
Right. And the two gentlemen that wanted the food, and what was their relationship to you?
They've been doing trivia for us in the past, and they've been just trying to help support us in any way possible during the pandemic, and even prior to that with trivia, and then the Feed the Front Lines campaign to feed the healthcare workers, police, and firemen.
But these two gentlemen, if you want to name them, that's fine. Do you consider them independent contractors of your business?
Yes,
All right. And so you're saying this was a business meeting?
it was a bean. Yeah, they were not patrons. I mean, they weren't paying for anything. They were there to discuss how they could help us out.
All right. And did the inspector inform you that you had been violated?
No, they said that we could get violated, and they gave us a copy of the governor's orders, which I thank them for clarifying. And I asked them some questions, and that's when we moved the bar stools. But I apologize, but I did not realize until 4 or 5 months later, when we got the subpoena, that we were in violation, and it made headline news.
Right. Did the inspector tell you that you could face a $5,000 fine?
Yes.
Okay. Since that incident, you say that you kept the Fells Point location completely closed for 5 weeks thereafter?
Approximately 5. We opened beginning second week in May, I believe, first or second week in May. So 5 to 6 weeks after.
All right. Do you now understand what the liquor board's policy is with respect to this executive order?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've gone further than that. Just, I do fear COVID and obviously just the health aspect, but also penalties and our livelihood. We take it very seriously. We do, daily health screens and temperature checks and sanitizing and, keeping our outdoor areas spaced, and masks and signs, mandatory for, you can't enter even to go to the bathroom or pick up carryout unless, you have a mask on. You have to be seated at a table outside if you're dining. Yeah, we're pretty strict with it. I think stricter than a lot of other places. We weren't really even letting people inside for indoor dining when that was an option.
Did you know that the authorities would not permit a business meeting in the premises at the time?
No, that was news to me, because myself and our partners, we've always figured that we were, as employees, that we could discuss things inside our personal establishment, that we weren't opening the doors to the public for.
Well, let me ask you a compound question. Did you know you weren't supposed to do this and did it anyway?
No.
All right. Anything else, Jermaine, that you'd like to say, Ms. Miller?
No.
All right. Thank you very much. I'd ask Mr. Miller to testify that the events as described by the co-licensee are true and correct, as he was also present on the premises.
Yes, sir. I was there.
Thank you. And Mr. Miller, did you know that the authorities were not permitting a business meeting on the premises under the premises of the governor's executive order on March 18th when you were visited by the liquor board?
No, sir.
Okay. And like the testimony from Mrs. Miller, you did not, these folks were independent contractors, the two gentlemen who were not directly employed by the bar at the time of the visit.
That's correct.
All right, and that they had done trivia events for your company in the past.
Yes, sir.
All right. I thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, Mr. Fogelman, so the point is that the person served were not customers?
That's correct. If you'll allow me to make just a little bit of brief argument about that executive order at this time.
Okay.
So my point here is that the governor's order of March 16th closes restaurants and bars closed to the general public, except that, and this is section 5, B1, sold if such food or beverages are promptly taken from the premises. But the operative term here is general public. That is what the governor's order and even the liquor board's press releases dated the 16th, 17th, and 18th of March use the term general public. So in order to figure out what we've got here, we need to look at the various definitions of general public. Let's see, Black's Law Dictionary calls the public pertaining to a state, nation, or whole community, affecting the whole body of people or an entire community, open to all, notorious. The Merriam-Webster definition of the general public says all the people of an area, country, etc. The Oxford Dictionary calls the general public ordinary people who are not members of a particular group or organization. And so it's clear that the governor's use of the term the general public was that not everyone is included in this. Random paying customers off the street, clearly part of the general public. Independent contractors there for a business meeting to try to salvage business during a pandemic does not rise to the level of the general public. And I asked the inspector about, or the clients about the $5,000 fine, because they've testified that, you know, they were told that this could be a $5,000 fine. And I'm going to wrap that into this argument. Section 11 of the governor's order of same date says that a person who knowingly and willfully violates this order is guilty of a misdemeanor and subject to a $5,000 fine. I think the evidence here has not demonstrated any knowing or willful violation of the governor's order, especially in lieu of the fact that it references the general public. It doesn't say all persons. It doesn't say everyone. And it certainly doesn't say that the owner of a bar can't drink a beer in their bar under this order. And so, and nor does it say that the employees cannot drink a beer, nor does it say the independent contractors. So everyone in that bar had a business interest in the bar at that time, except for the one customer who came in to pick up food and left, which was not any violation of any order. So my argument again here is that the general public were not served, and therefore the violation should not stand. Let me also say, well, I'll save this for mitigation if necessary. I'm sorry. That is all.
Okay. The commissioners have questions?
I have none. Guy.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
We have public comment, Mr. Akers.
At this time, if there are any members of the public that wish to give testimony on this case, please use the raise your hand function, and I will pull you in as a panelist. Mr. Chair, I see no individuals that are using the raise your hand function to provide testimony in this case.
Okay. So Mr. Fogelman, on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents and the testimony received, I'll say this. Obviously, there was some confusion here, and the executive order doesn't directly address the situation that's been described in the testimony. On the other hand, I think there's a technical violation because they were open to the public for the proper performance of business, which would be carryouts, and there were people in there obtaining carryouts, and right on those same premises, they were sitting at the bar and drinking beers, which I don't think was the intent of the executive order. If it was going to be a private meeting somewhere, I wouldn't have conducted it there. On the other hand, as I say, these are unusual circumstances. This is new. There was confusion. So while I would find a violation of Rule 4.16 on March 18, as well as a violation of Rule 3.12 on March 18. I would impose nominal sanctions of $50 as to each and give them 30 days to pay. Commissioners?
I also found that there was a violation of Rule 4.16 of illegal conduct, and also the violation of Rule 3.12 general welfare. And I concur with the fine of $50 each for those violations.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.16 illegal conduct on March 18, 2020. I also find a violation of Rule 3.12 general welfare on March 18, 2020. I recognize your arguments, Mr. Fogelman. I think indoor consumption is still indoor consumption, which I think is what's behind this particular executive order for our purpose. But given the circumstances, I concur with the imposition of the $50 fine.
All right, thank you very much,
Thank
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner. Thank you for the extra time in this case. And I look forward to seeing you all in person somewhere in the near future.
Thank you.
Can I call exhibits for the record? Board Exhibit 1, violation. Exhibit number 2, Governor Executive Order.
Mr. Fogelman, just to let you know, you will be receiving correspondence in the mail regarding the board's decision and the fine itself.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, when I was checking parties in, we actually have Mr. Hurdle, who has his witnesses present for case number 4. I was not able to check in anybody for case number 3, so I would just ask Mr. Chair to move to case 4, then we'll come back to case 3.
Let's do that.
Thank you, sir. Calling case number 4, Ganariva Salas Charro Negro LLC, trading as Charro Negro, 4617-19 Eastern Avenue. There's a Class B beer, wine, and liquor license, a violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on March 19, 2020, and a violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare on March 19, 2020. Bear with me, I'm just going to bring all of those parties in. Brought in Agent Perez. I've just brought in Agent Perez, and I have Mr. Hurdle, who I brought in as well. And Madam Court Reporter has been unmuted.
Well, let's swear the witnesses.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Okay, thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you God, or under penalty of perjury? I can't hear anything. Sorry, I just can't hear the responses.
Agent Perez, I do.
Okay, thanks.
Did we get a response from the witnesses?
Yes, they also.
Mr. Hurdle is unmuted.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hurdle, will you identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, Abraham Hurdle, on behalf of Charro Negro LLC, trading as Charro Negro. With me is Miss Salas, her husband, and Christina, who was the bartender on the evening in question. Actually, the employee was at the establishment. Bartender is the wrong term.
Will they be admitting or denying the violations?
I'd like to hear the testimony of the inspector before we kind of go forward, given some of the other concerns we've got.
All right, Agent Perez.
Yes, sir. March 19th, 2020, myself, along Inspector Hope, were conducting checks in the 4600 block of Eastern Avenue. The purpose of this check was to ensure that all businesses were compliant with the governor's order instructing all restaurants and bars to close for all on-premise consumption. Restaurants could only be open for carry-out and delivery services at the time. Approximately.
Mr. Perez is reading from a document that's not in evidence.
I'm sorry, what?
Mr. Perez is reading from a document that's not in evidence.
I think he's reading his report, but if
Is
you
the
want,
report in evidence? I
well,
don't have a copy.
well, what can you just paraphrase it, Agent Perez? Tell us what happened that evening.
Not reading from the document, Mr. Perez, please.
Yes, I can. Around 8:45, we were on the 4600 block of Eastern Avenue. As I was passing by Charo Negro, I looked through the window and I saw a customer seated at the bar consuming what appeared an alcoholic beverage. Proceeded into the interior of the establishment, and I verified that the gentleman was drinking a 12-ounce Corona bottle. I informed Ms. Carrillo, who was the person in charge at the time, that there shouldn't be no consumption on premise and that a violation would be written against the establishment.
Mr.
Okay.
Perez, did you see Ms. Carrillo serve him that beer?
I did not.
What did Ms. Carrillo tell you about that beer that the gentleman had at the bar?
She didn't provide any explanation.
Were you aware that she gave him that beer takeout with the cap on it and he opened it himself?
I was not. I didn't witness that. I observed consumption of the beer on premise.
You did not see him serve that beer open, though, correct?
What was the question?
You did not see him served an open beer, is that correct?
I did not. The beer was already on the counter, uncapped, and halfway consumed.
Thank you, Perez.
Do you want to put another?
No, we just have an explanation at this point. We would admit with an explanation.
Okay. Go ahead.
So it in question, again, this is March 19th. This is 2 or 3 days after the executive order. Things were very confusing. My clients responded to the situation by keeping a buzzer at the front door. So people weren't really able to walk in. They would have to buzz the door to be let in one at a time to pick up their takeout orders. The gentleman in question, who was consuming a beer, was there to pick up an order. Ms. Carrillo had gone into the back or was on the way to the back to pick up his food when the gentleman asked if he could get one Corona beer to go. She sold him that beer with the cap on it and then went to the kitchen to get his food. When she came back, that was when she had noticed that Mr. Perez was present and the patron had opened the beer himself. My client has been doing everything he can to comply with the rules and regulations in terms of not serving people in the premises. They have a very complicated system. Again, they put a button outside the front door that wasn't there prior to this, explicitly for takeout orders. As of right now, they have outdoor seating in compliance with the temporary orders. All the tables are 10 feet apart. They've got the permit from the city, and they've been doing everything they can just to keep afloat at this point.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Guy?
Commissioner Guy, I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained, we have public comment, Mr. Ackworth.
One moment. Are there any individuals of the general public who wish to give testimony in this matter? If so, please use the raise your hand function. Mr. Chair, I see no individuals that wish to give testimony in this matter.
If I may speak one more time, Mr. Chairman, if that's possible. We admit the fact that there was what I would consider a strict liability violation in this situation. However, again, my client, there was no intentional violation. This isn't an attempt to skirt the rules. This is simply a situation where a patron who was unsupervised for a moment while the short-staffed establishment went in back to get the food kind of caused this contradictory issue. There's been no issue since then, and they look forward to continue operating the best they can going forward.
I understand. Okay, thank you. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging document, the testimony received and the admissions, I find a violation of Rule 4.16 on March 19, 2020, and a violation of Rule 3.12 on March 19, 2020. I understand the explanation. I'm sympathetic to it that they don't have a great record in the last couple of years, but given the confusion surrounding the order and perhaps the if we take at face value their testimony, an act that was beyond their control, I would impose $75 fines as to each violation for a total of $150. Give them 30 days to pay.
Commissioner Guy, I concur with the finding. I also find that there was a violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on March 19th, and violation of Rule 3.12, general welfare, on the same date. Found it in violation, and I concur with the fine of $75 each for a total of $150.
March 19th, 2020. I find a violation. I find a violation of Rule 3.12 general welfare as well on March 19, 2020. And again, given the business, the balance between the business and the pandemic, I too would concur with the imposition of a $75 fine for each, for a total of $150.
All right, thank you.
Roll call exhibits for the record. Exhibit number 1, violation report, Agent Perez. Exhibit number 2, Governor's executive order.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Mr. Hurdle, just to let you know, you'll be receiving correspondence in the mail regarding the board's order and fine.
Thank you, Mr. Acker. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
This is the reporter. Oh, did Mr. Hurdle already hang up? I just need the names of the 3 that was with him.
The who?
The 3 people that are with you, Mr. Hurdle. I just want to make sure I've got the name.
The licensee, her husband, Jesus Romero, and the employee, Ms. Christina Carrillo.
Okay, sorry. Would you be able to repeat the first 2? You're just hard to hear.
Sure. Gabriela Salas,
Okay.
the named licensee, SALAS,
Okay, got that.
and then Jesus Romero.
Okay. And the spelling for the last name?
ROMERO.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ackers, do we have anybody on case number 3?
I'm about to do a roll, Mr. Chair. Okay, bear with me. I see a Keith Walcott. Mr. Walcott, are you here for O'Donnell's Pub on Potomac Street? I'm sorry, Mr. Walcott, I cannot hear you. Are you here for O'Donnell's Pub, 531 South Potomac Street? Is that a yes? Is that a yes, sir?
No.
Tom,
Okay.
you put something in the quote that he's just listening.
Okay, I didn't, oh, I'm sorry. I just saw it. Okay, got it. No problem. Ms. Carrick, are you here for O'Donnell Pub?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to make you a panelist. Mr. White, here for O'Donnell's Pub? Are you just listening?
I'm sorry, but I'm here.
No, ma'am, just Ms. Carrick, hold on for a second. I'm just doing some roll. Mr. Rice, are you here for O'Donnell's Pub? Yes, not. All right. Carrick, I brought you on. Can you please turn on your video, Ms. Carrick?
Darn, how do I do that?
There should be,
I got
when you
I got
open
it.
up your app, there should be something. There we
I
go.
just did it.
Okay.
It's okay. All right, Ms. Carrick, we have Ms. Carrick, and I'll go ahead and I'll call the case now since we have Ms. Carrick on. This is Gary Parker, JFO Incorporated, trading as O'Donnell Pub, 531 South Potomac Street. There's a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, a violation of Rule 4.16 illegal conduct on March 25th, 2020, and a violation of Rule 3.12 general welfare, March 25th, 2020.
Would the reporter please swear Ms. Carrick and Agent Perez?
Okay, please raise your right hand. Oh, Ms. Carrick, I just lost your video. There. I just don't see Ms. Carrick right now.
Yes. Ms. Carrick has some connectivity issues.
Hello?
Ms. Carrick? Ms. Carrick, can you hear us? Indulgence, Mr. Chair, I'm just going to try to work with Ms. Carrick to get her back online. Ms. Carrick? Ms. Carrick, if you can hear me, can you go to a place in your house with a stronger internet connection? And if not, you can call in. There's also a call-in number as well. Okay, Ms. Carrick is going to be calling back in. I think we've... Hold on for a second. There she is. I've got Ms. Carrick back on. Ms. Carrick?
Yeah.
Ms. Carrick, you need to go to a place with a stronger internet connection because I'm losing you a little bit.
I'm here.
We can't hear you. Can we get her to phone in, get this done?
Yeah, I'm going to try to reach Ms. Carrick. I don't have her contact. Ms. Carrick, if you can... Ms. Carrick, I'm going to move the screen, and I don't know if you can see it. But there is a call-in number at the bottom of the screen here. If you can see that phone number, you can write it down, 408-418-9388. And there's an access code there, 129-839-1871. You dial the phone number first and then put in the access code. Again, that phone number is 1-408-418-9388. The access code is there's Ms. Carrick again. Ms. Carrick? Ms. Carrick, your connection's very poor, Ms. Carrick. Can you see the phone number down at the bottom?
I don't know. Is it me?
I apologize, Ms. Carrick, but your phone connection is very poor. So can you call in? Ms. Carrick? Okay.
Yes. Is this on my
It's
end or your
Ms.
end?
Carrick.
I just hardwired it. I don't know what's going on with the internet, but I'm here.
Okay, we've got you now.
Let's
You
swear
want
in.
to swear everybody
Okay.
in?
Okay, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
Agent Perez.
I do.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Carrick, are you here on behalf of Mr. Parker?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he is charged with 2 violations, charge 5. So do you wish to admit or deny the violation?
I'm guilty with explanation.
Okay, you'll admit them? All right. Tell us your explanation, please.
I work in the kitchen. I was very overwhelmed, and my normal go-to when people are waiting and have been waiting is give them a beer on the house. So I told the bartender, give them a beer while they're waiting, although I didn't specify, but tell them to go outside. So she didn't, and so they were sitting there drinking their beers while they were waiting for the carry out.
Okay.
And I'd like just to say, I've been in business for 33 years and we've never done, like, we have no violations. We're never in trouble. We try to adhere to all rules.
I would agree. You have a clean record. Since this time, have you made it very clear to them that they cannot do that?
Yes, sir. Actually, we keep one door locked and we have no stools in the bar at all, so no one thinks they can get comfortable. Sometimes we put a table at the door where they can't even come in. But since it's outdoor seating now, the door open, but they stay outside and the person goes out, the bartender goes out, waits on them and nobody comes in at all.
Okay.
Carry out.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have questions?
Commissioner Guy, I have no questions.
No questions.
And Agent Perez, you indicated that she could cooperate. Is that correct?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Ms. Carrick, let's see if there's public comment.
Are there any individuals of the general public or on the call that wish to give testimony in this matter? If so, please use the raise your hand function. Mr. Chair, I see no individuals that wish to give testimony in this matter.
Okay. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, as well as the testimony received and the admission, I find a violation of Rule 4.16 on March 25, 2020, and a violation of Rule 3.12 on March 25, 2020. As Ms. Carrick indicated, they've been in operation since 1987 without any violations, which is a remarkable time, and there's some confusion about this. So again, I would impose nominal fines of $50 as to each for a total of $100 and give them 30 days to pay.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Guy, I concur with the finding. I also found that there was a violation of the Rule 4.16 illegal conduct on March 25th and violation of Rule 3.12 general welfare on the same date, March 25th. I found there was a violation and I concur with the fine of $50 for each violation.
I too find a violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on March 25th, 2020, as well as a violation of Rule 3.12 on March 25th, 2020. Given this licensee's record, and given the impact this pandemic has had on the business, not to minimize those violations, would impose a $50 fine for each.
Ms. Russell?
I call exhibits for the record. Exhibit number 1, investigation report, Agent Perez. Exhibit number 2, Governor Executive Order.
Ms. Carrick, please note that we're going to be mailing correspondence to the licensed establishment regarding the board's decision and financial penalty.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Mr. Ackworth, I believe that's our docket for today.
That completes our morning docket. The board will be in recess until August 18th, 2020.
Thank you, everyone. Stay well.
Thank you.